All right. Well, a very, very happy Thursday, and welcome to another episode of the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin, and on today's episode, we will be breaking down and taking our first looks into the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Yes, we'll talk about the 4 games, give you our predictions, and just like earlier in the week, where we give you our takes on the losers from wildcard weekend, I intend to give you my rankings 1 through 6 of the divisional rounds where I feel have a strong case of winning. They're a good team. They deserve to advance. To those that maybe this is where the end of the line draws for most people. So that is the conversation in the back half of the day. But this first half of the day, I wanted to focus about baseball because it's been a while since we've talked about baseball, and we got some important dates to share with you here. So let me pop it up. But Cincinnati Reds. I want to talk about the Cincinnati Reds coming up here in the solid first 15, 20 minutes. We'll jump into the MLB Hall of Fame ballot. At those votes are taking place, and we will know who's going to be inducted into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame class of 2026 next week. But for the first time in nearly 2 years, thanks to the convention center closure and the renovations that took place, Red Fest is finally back. Coming on this weekend. Okay. Friday will be from 3 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Teams introductions and main stage will be held at 5:30. On Saturday, January 17th, it will be from 11 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. The first 10,000 fans in attendance each day will receive a Red Fest drawstring bag and sticker sheet. Day 2 tickets, they have prices for day 1 and day 2 tickets. Day 1 tickets are for $30 for adults, $20 for kids who are 12 and under. Second day, the 2-day tickets, if we bought both packages, tickets are available for $40 for adults and $25 for kids 12 and under. Kids 3 and under are free. So if I wanted to go, let's say with my son, it would be $30. My son's 2, so he'd get in for free. The list seems to be appealing. Okay, you have currently over 80 current and former players, coaches, alumni, prospects, broadcasters scheduled to be there. You have rosters like Andrew Abbott, Ellie Dela Cruz, TJ Friedel, Hunter Green, Key Brian Hayes. And this is a fun time for people, right? Former players like Tucker Barnhart, Bronson Arroyo, Todd Frazier. Got broadcasts of Jeff Brantley, Marty Brenneman, John Sadak, Tommy Thrall, Terry Francona, Colin Cowgill, Derek Johnson. So there's a good amount of people that will be there. And this is fun, right? It's been 2 years since the Reds have done this. I expect a big crowd. I expect a lot of, good vibes coming into this season. At least that's my expectation. I saw something that was posted just not too long ago. It was a video clip that was posted on X, followed by Mike Petrogli, if I'm saying that his name right, where the president and CEO, Phil Castellini, was not greeted warmly by many fans inside the Cintas at Xavier's recognized new 10-year partnership with the Reds. And I saw a little clip, and people booed Phil Castellini, the owner of the Cincinnati Reds, due to the decisions and the progress made during the offseason. And so it lingers to me to asking you this opening question of the segment is, based off of the offseason that we have had, how do you feel the Reds have done on a grade level A being outstanding. They did the most work. They brought in the most people. 2 and F, complete flat out. They didn't do anything. They got rid of everybody. What grade level would you give the Cincinnati Reds this offseason in trades and deals and re-signings, so on and so forth? And I'm wondering if that's going to be reflected at the Reds Fest this weekend. But we'll break down the Cincinnati Reds here in a moment because I want to wrap up the Reds Fest. Because on Friday, tomorrow, there's a live musical performance by Bronson Arroyo. Okay, at 5:30, that's going to be at 4:30. At 5:30, an introduction of Reds players, past and present. 7 o'clock, Are You Smarter Than the Reds Head member? The Hot Stove Report at 7:30. 2025 Reds Major League Team Award. Kids Only press conference at 8:45. And then Ask the Mask Catcher at 9:25. On Saturday, you have the Xavier University ceremony at 11 o'clock. Reds Fest cooking show at 11:25. Kids Only press conference at noon. Reds Cookies roundtable at 1:30. Reds Feud at 2:30. Jim Day podcast at 3:05. Hot Stove Report at 3:50. Are You Smarter Than a Reds Head member at 4:35. And at 5:15, you have a mascot press conference. So it's impactful. I have never been to a Reds Fest before. It is something that I am interested in attending to. It won't happen this year, unfortunately. But I will, at some point in the upcoming future, look to attend a Reds Fest. And I'm expected, and I'm hoping that despite however people feel the progress they made during the offseason, we bring some new excitement heading into 2026. Pitchers and catchers are about to report to spring training coming up February 9th. Their first spring training game is February 21st in Arizona. And it will be against the Guardians. And this only launches 180, 190 days of baseball for the next spring, summer, and the beginning of fall. And we could only hope and only pray and support that this Reds team that barely made it to a wild card position last year finds a way to build from what they had successfully done in the past. Let's not forget they did have a winning record, and I know that's not a much to go off of. So what? The Reds have a winning record? So what? They made the wild card. They got shut out in the first 2 games against the Dodgers. It's not a much to talk about. It's not a much to brag about. You go up against any other playoff team, so what? It doesn't mean anything. It means a lot to the Reds organization because we are not only been crawling and scraping the bottom of the barrel, knowing that we are a low-budget team to get back to the playoffs, to have a 500 record. But now it's time to come up and show everyone that we can stay there. And in a division that I currently feel the Reds do have an opportunity to at least contend, I would say maybe at least in the wild card spots, then we need to continue looking forward at how we progress and how we improve this team. Now, 2025, we saw a lot of changes. We saw Jake Fraley leave. We saw Brian Hayes come in. We saw the debut of Chase Burns. And now, and Sal Stewart, a young prospect coming through the ranks himself. Now we got to take this team to the next level. This is a year with chemistry. This is a year with devotion. They all should be on the same page. heading into spring training. And that's the most advantage that you can get out of an organization, is the chemistry and the preparation that they have, knowing that who's going to be on the right side, knowing who's going to be on the left side, what they're expected and not expected to do, what their capabilities are. That is what the key of heading into spring training is all about, and how you come away just bettering and improving that chemistry will say everything. You know, you can go put 26 different ball players together, all elite. You could take the All-Star game, and unless they start clicking immediately, they're going to find struggles throughout the course of the year. They're going to butt heads, and it's going to cost them a couple of games. Now, sure, an all-star team may be as good enough to win a division or go on to a World Series, but if you want them to have a flawless year, despite injuries, then we look into chemistry. You want to build chemistry in this organization, and this is how you do it. We do see some new additions to J.J. Bleday and Dane Myers, but a lot of these guys are returning athletes. So, the Cincinnati Reds heading into spring training with the Reds Fest, let's face it, it almost feels like if we are done with the offseason deals. Doesn't look like the Reds are interested in picking up any more free agencies or making any other trades, and any rumors that were said in December, maybe November, have been shut down. Kyle Schwarber stays with Philadelphia. Ketel Marte looks to stay in Arizona, and Arizona refuses to sell Ketel Marte. And so be it. I mean, they just brought in Nolan Arenado from St. Louis to kind of help that infield out. And so the Reds look like they're done. But they may not be done because ownership says they're done. May be also done because financial decisions prevent them. Let's take a look at this. The Reds have 13 hitting spots taken up. Brian Hayes, Tyler Stevenson, Gavin Lux, Jose Trevino, Spencer Steer, TJ Friedel, Matt McLean, Will Benson, JJ Bleday, Sal Stewart, Ellie De La Cruz, Noelvi Marte, and Dane Myers. That's a good group of guys, I'll be honest. Down in the depth that we can utilize at some point this year, Ben Roltevert. We got Blake Dunn, Tyler Callahan, Hector Rodriguez, Edwin Arroyo, Christian Encarnacion, Brees Hines. And so there is some depth, but there's room for improvement. So if our 13 defenders, guys off the bench, our everyday lineup, those are our 13 guys. How do you feel about that? I mean, I like the the left side of the field. You have Brian Hayes at third, Ellie De La Cruz at short. You got Matt McLean at second, Spencer Steer at first. That's not a bad infield. I think that's a really good infield, almost an unstoppable infield. You throw in Gavin Lux out there to left. You got TJ Friedel in center. And just for now, I'll throw in Will Benson in right field, maybe Noelvi Marte. So coming off your bench, if you throw in Marte on the bench, you got Dane Myers, JJ Bleday, Jose Trevino. So 4 guys, right? 1, 2, and Sal Stewart. But I'm also looking for depth in the coming off the bench. You know, one thing that I still think baseball has not changed about a winning ball club heading into this current generation of professional baseball is it's great. It's key to have important guys starting in your everyday lineup. But you're not going to be talking about those starting 8. You're going to be talking about those guys coming off the bench. So do you have a solid backup catcher? do you have a solid backup infielder and a solid backup outfielder? A guy who could come in a crucial spot, whether he's a lefty or righty situation, and deliver at least 8 out of 10 times. Not only we're focused on how well he plays defense, but how excited do you get when this person comes off the bench? Now, the only person that I'm looking forward to coming off the bench right now is Noelvi Marte and Sal Stewart, preferably Sal Stewart. He's young. He's developing. There's a lot of praise that he was talked about down in the minor leagues that I want to see him over in the major leagues to excel. So that's one thing we're looking heading into this season. JJ Bleday, Dane Myers, to be honest, I haven't seen enough of you to make that accurate adjustment. So you would have to just prove to me whether or not it's worth it watching you coming off the bench. Maybe they're playing an outfield spot like right field. Will Benson comes off the bench. He could be a guy that I could get excited for. And Jose Trevino, who I'm not going to get excited or thrilled that he's coming off the bench, but I don't think you're going to see him pitch hit unless he's coming into the game in the catcher position. Noelvi Marte, I think this year is a year that he needs to prove to people. Right? Step outside your comfort zone and just prove to people. But where do you land this team at offense defensively? The only conundrum I see out of here is that for position purposes, Tyler Stevenson and Jose Trevino, your two catchers, make up about $11-12 million, which I don't know if that's worth the investment heading into this season, but Tyler Stevenson also needs to look for another healthy season. When he's healthy, you know what he's capable of displaying onto the field. The Reds rotation sit at Brady Singer, Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, and Chase Burns. I like that starting five. You have a depth option that we look to improve with Rhett Lauder, Chase Petty, and Julian Aguirre. And I do apologize to those who I am butchering their last names. So we do have room down in the minor leagues for depth. And one of my concerns that I always get scared about is watching this team deal with injuries throughout the year, because the more injuries we have, the less constant bullpen or depth people we have to provide that can provide the same accuracy, right? Just imagine Ellie De La Cruz getting hurt and you're sending out a Noelvi Marte at short every day. He's not no Ellie De La Cruz at shortstop. But then that category, you have to fill in the bench. So who comes in? Christian Encarnacion, Edwin Arroyo, possibly. When you get to the rotation, who fills in if a Hunter Green goes down? Chase Petty. Now you have the fourth and fifth spot filled up, limited in innings number of pitches, and you're going to rely a little bit more on your bullpen. So depending who comes in during this spring training, picks up a minor league contract, I hope to also find some depth coming into for our rotation. I think that's going to be the core. It's not about our rotation. It's not about our lineup. It's not about our bullpen. It's about who's in depth coming next, because I get worried about injuries and what happens and how do you fill them. But still, starting rotation, Brady Singer comes in with a $12.75 million, $4 million higher than your ace pitcher, Hunter Green. And so we're putting in about at least $25 million, and Brady Singer, Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, we're keeping a $780,000 contracts to Andrew Abbott and to Chase Burns. Going on in the bullpen, we have 7 out of our 8 guys kind of sorted out. Emilio Pagan being our closer. Pierce Johnson, who we just re-signed not too long ago, teams up with Caleb Ferguson and Tony Santillan. Graham Ashcraft comes into role along with Sam Maul, Connor Phillips. And we're looking for maybe depth of the bullpen. Zach Maxwell, Lyon Richardson, Luis May, Yolsver Zulita, Zam Benshorter, Brandon Williamson. So who's going to fill in the last spot? Maybe 2. But we're back around to filling in, I think, the first 4 to 5 guys in our bullpen are going to be crucial. They're going to play a key factor in our success this year, because as we expect our starters to go 7 innings, 6 innings, you got 7, 8, 9 lined up, and you got your bullpen who needs to shut them down. With Emilio Pagan coming in, making $10 million, the highest paid from the bullpen. Your next person is Pierce Johnson at 6.5, nearly almost half. The overall expenses that the Reds currently have is about $114 million and some change. Because that doesn't include the $16 million we're still paying for Jahmir Candelario. Let's not forget a $2.25 million combined buyouts of Austin Hayes, Brent Suter, and Scott Barlow. And so the Reds have a $115 million budget, at least expected, and yet we only have about maybe $500,000 available to spend. So where, if that's what it is, and our off season's done, this is what the team's going to look like heading into the year, minus whoever is the non-actives that are invited to spring training. Where do you grade this Reds team at? Is it an F? Is it an A? I want to hear what you guys have to say. But in my opinion, these Reds, I'm going to say, is about, let's say, a C- at best. I think when the Reds were in conversations and were in rumors tied along to guys like Kyle Schwarber and to Ketel Marte and to possibly Pete Alonso, during the offseason, and then we see what the Reds would have offered Kyle Schwarber, knowing that they were just $25 million short of possibly bringing in a power at bat, practically our designated hitter, then to see what really came of it. These guys, they're not really well known. They're not well established. They play for organizations that are also, compared equally to where we sit at on a financial standpoint. I mean, like I said, J.J. Bleday, Dane Myers, they're not no top 100 or top 50 ball players. Caleb Ferguson, Pierce Johnson. I guess I question what they bring to. Yes, they bring something to the table, but what is that? And is it the same as if they're in their primes? So are they in their prime? Are they out of their prime? Or are we just milking every last ounce of them at the major league level before we decide to move on ourselves? And so these are a lot of questions that we are asking ourselves heading into spring training. And we want to see what kind of ball players do these players that we signed that are getting a fresh look in Cincinnati this year. And like I said, because their names aren't so aggressive and what we've seen the Reds tag along into conversations and rumors throughout the offseason, my grade level is a C-. Now, we're just a few weeks away from spring training doesn't mean deals cannot be done. We've even seen deals done before games get underway in late February. We also see games getting, deals getting done throughout spring training. So there is a possibility if the Reds were interested in picking up a guy that they could do so. The last person I saw people even point out was free agency first baseman Hoskins. Excuse me. So, that creates an interesting point. But if you're trying to stick with the budget that's projected for these Reds, then you'd have to make some room. Well, right off the bat, we're paying 2 catchers over $5 million to share equal playing time, which I think is a little bit of absurd. And our ace pitcher in Hunter Green is not the highest starting pitcher of your payroll. Brady Singer is nearly 1,200. Well, if you take a look at example Tyler Stevenson or even Brady Singer, combine their contracts, you're looking at almost $20 million you're freeing up. Maybe it's not an ideal point right now for the spring training season, but these are good conversation pieces to keep in the back of your mind heading into trade deadlines and trade talks. Could those two men be on the market come June or July, especially if the Reds are contending, or maybe they're not contending? This would be a perfect time to unload and gain prospects, or, hey, let's elevate and buy one player. So I want to hear what you guys have to say when all that is said and done. All right. Well, the Cincinnati Reds or not Cincinnati Reds. Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame voting class is coming our way here in just a few days. Matter of fact, next Tuesday, from my understanding. So let me get there really fast. And let me just... because I shared something on my profile about the Reds, about Major League Baseball and their upcoming Hall of Fame classes. So I want to share with you what I found interesting. Let me just pop it all back up. I just got to get to the right. There we go. All right. So who's going to be on the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame ballot for 2026? And let me run through the list of names. We got Carlos Beltran, Andrew Jones, Chase Utley, Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez, Andy Petit, Felix Hernandez, Bobby Abreu, Jimmy Rollins, Omar Vizquel, Dustin Pedroia, Mark Buehler, Francisco Rodriguez, David Wright, and Torrey Hunter. Now, guys like Manny Ramirez is going on his 10th year. Andrew Jones is approaching his 9th year. Andy Petit is at his 8th year. Vizquel is on his 9th. Just because they may come up to the end of their voting days doesn't mean that they still can't get into the Hall of Fame at a later date. We would expect them to get into the Hall of Fame more so closer to, and it would be a committee like we saw this past fall. Out of those guys, out of that I just mentioned, if you wanted, all of them have Hall of Fame, I think, compelling arguments. But who would you honestly put in the Hall of Fame? Not necessarily this class, but who would you honestly consider being put into the Hall of Fame? I think a guy like Alex Rodriguez would be a Hall of Famer, not in the regular 10-year voting span, but it would be nominated and elected in the committee probably about, another 10, 15 years down the road. But I like to see Chase Utley, who's entering his 3rd year, be entered in. I used to like a player like Torrey Hunter. I don't know if he's going to be able to gain votes later in his run. He's coming in year number 6. David Wright's only at 8% in year number 3. I'd like to see a little bit more out of that possibly, but he's another one. These are guys who when I think of Chase Utley, I think of the Phillies. When I think of David Wright, I think of the New York Mets. And I think of a time where their play and their contributions to the organization has embarked and has sustained historical value to the positions and to the organization. When I think of Chase Utley, I go back to a time with Jimmy Rollins and Ryan Howard, and when the Phillies were dominant and they would go to the postseason practically every year. It was, this was a powerful team. Same thing with David Wright. Jimmy Rollins is another person I would like to see be inducted to the Hall of Fame at some point in his career. The closest person is Carlos Beltran as he enters year number 4 with 70%. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets nominated heading into this year and get over that hump. Well, along with those guys, we have a group of young first-time ballot Hall of Famers, and I'm going to share their names and their accomplishments that has warranted them to entering this year's ballot of Hall of Fame. We have Cole Hamels, who is a 4-time All-Star, a 2008 World Series MVP. He holds a 3.43 ERA and has struck out 2,560 batters. Ryan Braun, who is a National League MVP in 2011, 2007 NL Rookie of the Year, 6-time All-Star, 5-time Silver Slugger with 352 home runs. Edwin Encarnacion, 3-time All-Star, held 1,832 hits with 424 home runs with 1,261 RBIs. Howie Kendrick, 2019 World Series champion, 2011 All-Star, 2019 NLCS MVP with 1,747 hits. Alex Gordon, 2015 World Series champion, 3-time All-Star, 8-time Gold Glove winner, and a 2-time Platinum Glove winner. Shin-Soo Choo, 2018 All-Star with 1,671 hits, 218 home runs, 377 OBP. Nick Markakis, a 2018 All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove winner, 2018 Silver Slugger with 2,388 hits. Hunter Pence, 2012-2014 World Series champion, a 4-time All-Star, 1,791 hits with 244 home runs. Gio Gonzalez, 2-time All-Star, 2012 win leader, 131 wins, 1,860 strikeouts. Matt Kemp, who's a 3-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger, 2-time Gold Glove winner with 287 home runs. Daniel Murphy, 3-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger, 2015 NLCS champion with 1,572 hits. Rick Porcello, 2018 World Series champion, 2016 AL Cy Young winner, 151 wins with 1,561 strikeouts. Boy, all right, let me stretch there. That was the rookies that are going to be on this year's ballot. And I guess my question is it's going to be a 2-part question. Do you believe anyone should be a first-round ballot Hall of Fame? And out of that list, the second question would be, who over the next 10 years gets inducted into the Hall of Fame? I don't think anyone's going to be a first ballot. Maybe Cole Hamels, if you had to choose one, or Rick Porcello. But I do see those two men, hopefully at some point in their balloting careers, get inducted into the Hall of Fame. I also see, hopefully, for Hunter Green, Matt Kemp, Ryan Braun, and let's go with Edwin Encarnacion Strand. And just for the sakes of it, I'll throw in Howie Kendrick. Over those next 10 years, I am hopeful that one of those ball players get inducted into the Hall of Fame. There are a total of 27 players between the first round ballots and the current 15 that will be on this year's ballot. The ballot closes next Tuesday, January 20th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm excited to see. It's a special time to honor the people who have impacted this game. And as I get older, I think these decisions become a little bit more complicated to make, because I grew up and I knew names like Carlos Beltran. I practically know everybody, at least in some shape, way, or form. And it's like, well, for me, I remember their name. I remember the team they play on and how dangerous. It was interesting. So I used to go to Padres games all the time growing up, and every time I'd go to Padres games, my goal would be to collect a new program. Every month they would make a new program, and inside the program they would have a poster that you would hang up. And what they used to do was implement those posters to, kind of spell out Padres. Or one year they had it where they spelled out Padres. For the first year, you got a ball player. For the first month, you got a ball player. And then you got that was on the poster with the letter P, and it went through every month. And so it was my determination every month was to go, and you get this program. I think it was like between $5 and $10. And that's all I cared about. You usually got a scorecard with it. And then the Padres, after so many years, they got these smaller ones, and I don't see them again. I mean, the Reds only have yearbooks. I would like them to every month change, give me an updated roster. So anyways, this book, and I actually have one. I'll have to come on here and show it to you at some point. But what they would do is they would give you the roster, right? It'll be headshot photos of the roster. Look in your minor league, what's new, what's going on around your minor leagues. And then they would also give you upcoming opponents. So one of the upcoming opponents were for example, when Boston Red Sox came into town. All right, July 23rd through July 26th, the Red Sox will be here at Petco Park. And one of the key players that you'd want to come in, watch, and highlight that will impose a danger aspect opposing against the Padres would be a guy like David Ortiz. Okay. Well, in July, you also have the Milwaukee Brewers, and Ryan Braun was on that face cover as somebody who would pose a dangerous threat to the Padres. Let's say, in June, you'd have Felix Hernandez. Oh, I don't know if there's no certainty that he's pitching in the series, but their Mariners are coming down to Petco Park, and he posed a threat. He's a guy to watch out for. And so I thought it was a cute, it was fun, creative. It got me intrigued. It got me learning and educated about other ball players and the team that they're on, because I was more direct towards just what the Padres were doing. But, I got to say that I miss those times. I don't know if San Diego still does it. I don't think so. The Reds, they sell, like I said, a yearbook that I think they upgrade every other month. So they'll have one for April, May, then they'll have one for June, July, and then August, September. I wish they would have one each month. It'll give me a reason, because they only sell them at the Red shop down there. I would have to go to a ball game. If I'm going down there, I'm going to a ball game. And then I would buy a book, which is about, I think, $7 to $10. They're not expensive. And then I would I would go to the game. It's a money driver. But, today's time, we're kind of all getting out of magazines and papers, and it upsets me. I'm still that type of person who likes to go to ball games and keep score. Trust me, you'll find me just there, looking at, you know, watching the game. I don't want to go do anything else, but then my kids pull me away and say, "Oh, we got to do this, we got to do that." All right. But anyways, who is going into who are Hall of Famers in your books in that ballot? Let me know down in the comments below. We're going to move on because we got to talk about the divisional round. I got my top 6 teams out of the teams players, or out of the organizations who have advanced to the divisional rounds. But before we get to that, I want to spend some time and just highlight talking about upcoming events for Enlighten Studios. That Enlighten Studios is a performing arts company, and 2026 is a colossal year for them as they anticipate a high volume of events and venues. They have 8 theater productions throughout the year. And one thing that they will have on starting in February, which will go on every month up until December, they won't have one in December, is a event called Paint and Pastries, where you can enjoy an atmosphere where you can sit back, relax, and let your creativity blossoms. Okay. Step-by-step painting classes, which are invited for friends and families. And you can enjoy tasty treats and follow along with local experienced artists. You don't have to be a painter. You never had to paint before. They will provide you the materials. It's a great session that is created just for you. They offer both group and private classes, so it's great for large parties, maybe a birthday party coming up. And we like to invite you out. It's going to be taking place February 13th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Artsville in Cincinnati, Ohio. It is a Valentine's Day treat for everyone. And if you've never been, I would encourage you to go and get your tickets. I believe, and I'm just on the website right now, tickets are $35 per person. Can't beat it, to be honest. So I invite you out there to check out Paint and Pastries. Also, you may see this on our social media pages, but in February, Enlighten Studios is proud to present Grassroots, a play written and directed by Terry Chappell II. Grassroots is set back in the 90s, where a family moves into a neighborhood and experiences a set of truths that comes out and is brought to the light. Grassroots will be presented at the Arts Theater in Cincinnati, Ohio. Tickets are available by visiting tickettailor.com. Get your tickets today between February 27th through March 8th and experience what Enlighten Studios has to offer. Tickets start at $25 a person, and for children, you could get them for $14.75. A ticket link for both the production and Paint and Pastries will be provided in the link below. Get your tickets and be sure to be there for 2026 as Enlighten Studios expects to continue to grow. Alrighty, that came out pretty smooth. NFL divisional round is here. We'll have 2 games on Saturday and 2 games on Sunday. The winners of these rounds will advance to the AFC NFC championship game, and the winners of those games will advance in 3 weeks. So in about a month from this weekend, we will have a Super Bowl. Okay. The number 1 seeds, Broncos and Seahawks, will be hosting their games on Saturday, as the Bills will take on the Broncos in the early Saturday game at 4:30, while the Niners take on the Seahawks at 8 p.m. On Sunday, the Texans will head over to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots at 3 p.m. from Gillette Stadium. And the last game will be the Rams versus the Bears at 6:30. You can check that game out on NBC. Now, just because you're ranked 1 and 2, both 1 and 2 seeds are still there. You have 2 5 seeds and you have 2 6 seeds. And the number 1 seed is playing the number 6 seed, and then the number 2 seed is playing the number 5 seed. But to be honest, just because you're ranked 1 or 2, or just because you're ranked number 5 or 6, that doesn't mean that you have less of an advantage or more of an advantage to win or lose the divisional round. It comes down through wit, grit, and experience. And to be honest, sometimes off of momentum. And a wild card win can give you momentum. You saw some big hypes coming out of the wild card weekend as the Patriots defense exploded all over the Chargers offensive line. The Bears conquered the Green Bay Packers and now sit on top solely of the NFC North. I call them the new sheriffs of the NFC's North. But do they really have the same opportunities and same momentum to pull through a victory in the divisional round and possibly win a divisional game heading over to the championship game? And so I want to provide you my top 6. So I'm going to rank each team where I believe, one being, they have this in the book. It should be a no-brainer. They should be winning. They have what it takes. To number 6, where, they got past the wild card weekend. I don't know how much further they can go. So coming up in number 6 of this list is the Houston Texans. I'm going to be honest, the Texans surprised me in pulling away a victory over the Steelers. But can they repeat that against the Patriots on the road? Is going to be the tale of the tape here. We just got off. I think when you come down to this matchup, but we'll get to the matchup here in a moment, but the Patriots, they're going to have to turn on that light switch offensively and score some points. Because if they meet another good defensive team, then they may be in trouble in the game. But I don't think Houston has it. I think the AFC South is still a division that is not going to produce a winner out of all of it. So I feel the Texans belong at the bottom of this list, number 6, as a team that has the momentum to advance to the next round. Coming in at number 5, I have I'm going to say the Los Angeles Rams. I watched the Panthers game. Yes, Matthew Stafford, I don't believe that the Rams should be putting their faith into one person each and every week. And it seems to me that when it comes down to the playoffs, and I'm thankful that the Rams and Matthew Stafford can prevail, but every time you ask Matthew Stafford to come into the fourth quarter, when you're down by 3 or 7 points and to have to run your team down the field, you're going to eventually be stopped. So with that, and based off of their performance, it's how much have they improved to re-solidify. They do belong at the top of this list. But in my opinion, they don't sit at the top of this list. They sit at number 5 because of the moments that they put their quarterback, Matthew Stafford, in each and every week. Coming in at number 4, the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers, in the chances of winning against the Eagles, had to do a lot with the failure of the Eagles. They're a good team. They don't have George Kittle. They've been here before. But is that enough to carry them on? They come in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, I'm going to sit with the Chicago Bears. So I have 6, the Texans. 5, this is not 6, it's 8. So coming at number 8 is the Texans. Coming at number 7 is the Rams. Coming in at number 6 is the 49ers. Coming in at number 5 is the Seahawks. You know, Sam Darnold got this congratulations that he finally been able to get over this hump, win when it means the most. We got to carry that momentum into the postseason. And they got a first round bye. And I guess because we haven't seen much from, with these two teams yet, these two teams are split. So they're number 5. Number 4. Number 4, I have the Chicago Bears. Momentum could do wonders for a ball club. They finally not only they beat the Packers throughout the regular season, but they beat the Packers at home, which was probably the most scariest thing that they have. But can they repeat again? The momentum carries over. They're at home. I have them number 4. Number 3 is going to be the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen got beat up. Let's not face it. He's not going to be 100%. The Broncos defense, they are just as good as the Patriots defense, and they're going to find ways to get to Josh Allen. Now, Josh Allen is Superman, but is he immortal? And this Saturday, we will find that out. Bills coming at number 3. Number 2 are the Broncos. And the reason why I say that, you could honestly say that to both the Broncos and the Patriots, but on this next point, but I had the Broncos at number 2 because they're slowly graduating on offensive confidence with Bo Nix behind Realm. Drake May coming in at number 1. They have a dominant defense that I really backed up and supported on. I want to watch that follow through. They just need something from their offensive line or from their offensive ability. So, coming in at number 8 is the Texans. The Rams at number 6. The 49ers at number 5. The Seahawks at number 4. The Bears at number is the Texans at 8. Rams at 7. 49ers at 6. Seahawks at 5. Bears at 4. Bills at 3. Broncos at 2. And the Patriots at 1. But that's probably because I've seen the Patriots already before. Let's get down to the matchup. Saturday's game. Bills, Broncos. 4:30 CBS. We just talked about it. I don't think Josh Allen's going to be 100%. I think the Broncos defense, they're going to make it a point to go after Josh Allen any way, shape, or form, even if that means it costs them a few penalties early on in the game. Is Josh Allen the Superman? Is he immortal? We will find out Saturday. I think the Bills are going to win this game and advance to the championship game. Second game, Niners and Seahawks. Boy, you love when these division games compete against each other. I've loved the matchups in the NFC West over the year. But Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, I understand we don't have George Kittle, but the Niners, I still run favorite for me, despite being on the road. Seahawks are a good team. Maybe they have the upper advantage because they're playing at Lumen Field, one of the most notorious, loudest stadiums in all of football. But I think the Niners find a way and upset 2 division winners back-to-back weeks. I got the Niners. Sunday, 3 p.m. on ABC. Number 5, Texans take on number 2, Steelers. Now, the only thing I want to say the Steelers, it's a walk in the park. I think this should be an easy win, but their offense has to show up. Drake May has to show up and has to deliver. They can't play a game they did against the Chargers last week where it was just a defensive game. Sure, it could be a low-scoring game, but he's going to have to find a way to put up multiple touchdowns, or else I think Houston will prevail. I got the Patriots advancing. Last but not least, 6:30 p.m. on NBC, the Rams taking on the Bears, and you put the faith into Matthew Stafford. I have to go with the experienced team on this one. Yes, I'm asking a lot, putting in the faith a Matthew Stafford to come through in the 4-minute position. But guess what? Caleb Williams also does the same thing. They're going to be at home. I think Caleb Williams, this is that learning experience. Last week it was Bryce Young learning. This year it's Caleb Williams. If the Bears win, I think that they may win the Super Bowl if they beat the Rams. But see, the Bears have already established themselves in their division. Now this is the time to establish themselves outside the division by taking on the Rams. It's very tough. Because when it comes down to 2-minute warnings and the 2-minute runtime at the back end of the game, both teams can run down the field and score touchdowns. We've seen it before. Well, actually, we've seen it in both of their games. Who do you go? You got to go. I got to go with home field advantage on this one. I got to go with the Bears. They may stumble. This one, I could say the Rams will win. Now, let's play that what if just real quick, and we'll wrap up our show. What if in the AFC Championship, we have the AFC East battling the AFC East, the Bills and the Patriots. As the NFC Championship game, we have the NFC West as taking on the NFC West as the 49ers or Seahawks take on the Rams. That would be some sight to see. An East versus West Super Bowl. But my predictions here, I have the Bills, I have the 49ers, I have the Patriots. I'm going for the Rams. I'm going for the Rams to win. That is my take on that. And that is all the time I have for you guys today. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to our episode. Tomorrow we'll wrap up. We'll get you guys ready for the weekend. I want to give a little bit of my predictions of the NCAA College Football Championship game, because by the time that this Monday episode releases, the game will be going on and begin. So I don't want to give any misconceptions. We'll get you guys ready for Friday Night SmackDown, and we'll wrap up the week. So I want to thank everyone. If you guys please follow us on our Facebook page. Follow us on our Instagram, TikTok, X. Support us, please. That's all I could ask from you guys. You guys are loyal. I want to thank you guys. Hit that like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Be sure to download us, to listen to us wherever you guys get your podcasting needs, whether that's on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, you name it, we're on there. And I appreciate the support that you guys give. So let's come back with a good show tomorrow to get the weekend started off right. And until then, thank you guys for tuning in, and have a wonderful rest of your evening. Take care.